best beauty has to do with comfort. If you're wearing an outfit that's too tight, you're not comfortable, you're not going to feel beautiful.
This is Marco Pelusi, a celebrity hair colorist and stylist.
My family actually has a chain of hair salons in the Northeast. They've been at it since 1965. These guys are not young. I worked in-house at an Italian hair color manufacturer, so I had an opportunity to live and train and work in Italy. And then I just said goodbye to everybody. It's just time to do my own thing.
If you had one takeaway.
A lot of people are walking around in pain. I will sit down and ask that person about the experience with
Hello, welcome everyone. I'm your host Ariana here with the Blissy Experience. We have such a fantastic episode ahead of us today, but I just wanted to quickly remind everyone, if you haven't had a chance to experience the Blissy Experience of a silk pillowcase, those silk eye masks, this is going to help set you up for not only a deep, beautiful sleep, but also help you get better beauty sleep. Again, we're going to be talking a little bit about that beauty routine today in our episode, but be sure to check out Blissy if you haven't had a chance yet. I would like to now welcome our guest for today. I'm so excited for our conversation. This is Marco Pelusi, a celebrity hair colorist and stylist. Marco, thank you for being with us.
Oh, it's absolutely my pleasure.
Yeah.
Such a pleasure to meet you.
Such
Truly.
a pleasure to meet you as well. I mean, I live actually in the area that your salon is located. It's been there forever, which is a huge feat, by the way. We are here in Los Angeles, and there's a lot of salons that I think come and go. It's a tough market. There's a lot of competition. This is definitely a beauty-centric city. So tell us a little bit about your background, and what do you think that you have done differently to really stand out and stick in such a big industry?
Thank you. Thank you so much. I grew up in the industry. So my family actually has a chain of hair salons in the Northeast, in Pennsylvania, and they're still at it. They've been at it since 1965. These guys are not young, but they're still at it. Over 20 years ago, I moved to LA. I worked in-house at an Italian hair color manufacturer. So I had an opportunity to live and train and work in Italy. And then I actually asked them for a job in LA as a hair color trainer. So that immediately gave me a base here as a trainer here in LA. And I had an opportunity training people half my age on a hair color to really scope out the area. And I think I always had in the back of my mind that I wanted to do a salon. And I knew that I wanted it to be in West Hollywood or Beverly Hills. But I needed to really get around a bit. And I worked in-house with Pelusi, and then I also worked at a company called Joico, which is another Italian brand. And then I just said goodbye to everybody. And I just said, it's just time to do my own thing. So I opened my own salon, and I didn't even look back in terms of product. I created my own products as well. I went back to a family friend who's our chemist with all of the knowledge that I gained as a teacher and working in-house at the hair color companies. I put all of that knowledge into the salon and into the products, and I'm a specialist in hair color. But it's funny you mention about what do you think I did differently? And I know the last few years have been crazy with the pandemic, which you and I chatted about. I think relationships are key. I think relationships in business are key. If you can maintain good, strong relationships, people will still come see me even when they're driving from hours away, if they're able, or even out of town. Or one gal just even messaged me from Denmark recently that she's coming into town. You know, so it's really about relationships. I really think that that's what stands the test of time with any business, especially when you're working on someone's hair. Like you even mentioned that sometimes you go to the same person and you travel for that person as well. And I think that's based on the relationship.
Right. Yeah, it's based on relationship, trust, comfort. You know, I love this word relationships. And I think that sometimes when we think of the beauty industry or beauty routines, we feel like, of course, maybe it's kind of vanity, or it's this kind of superficial layer to some degree. But, you know, as a woman, as someone who does care about my beauty routine, I feel like the relationship that I have with my hair, the relationship I have with my beauty routine, and the relationship I have with the team that I choose to kind of give that over to is really important. So tell me about how you help people foster the relationship with themselves in the chair.
When someone walks in, even existing clients, I always say when I teach at major hair shows, and I teach in salon and online. I always say to stylists, don't have your hair color mixed up already. You know, you can't be walking in and saying, oh, you know, let's just sit down and do the same thing. Men also, but especially women, female clients, definitely want to talk to you about how they're feeling. A lot of people are walking around in pain also, and sometimes that can relate to their hair color, and they want to be treated well. And so I will sit down, especially if someone is a little frazzled or emotionally wrought, or I will sit down like we are doing today without mics and ask that person about the experience with her hair color. I might even say, what problems did you have? Let's just delve right into what the problems are and really get the, and if you can get into those problems, sometimes it's psychological, but we really need to focus on the hair. If you can solve the problems, you're solving a need, and you've really created that relationship. And then you also mentioned a team. I do have a team of people. I have someone who does makeup and brows, and I have another hairdresser who does things that I don't do in the realm of smoothing treatments and extensions. And then I'm able to be sort of the owner, but the concierge, to sort of get people's team together.
Yeah, I love that.
So the team, I think, is really important. And sometimes, it's not always, but because sometimes people want to do things at separate places or whatever, but sometimes someone will leave the salon saying, wow, you've got a really great team, which is kind of what you were referring to, a beauty team, because people need their teams. They need the medical team. You know, if you've got a medical issue, it's like, where's my team? You know, if you've got a beauty thing,
who are my people? Yeah, absolutely. You know, and I think consistency matters so much. Consistency, knowing that you're going to be able to go and get the result that you're looking for, something that you know that you feel confident in, something that you feel comfortable in. But I also, again, you know, as a living, breathing human woman who gets beauty treatments, I know that it's important to me that my beauty routine can evolve and grow with me over time, that my hair color has shifted a little bit from when I was in my 20s now to in my 30s. As I continue to grow and evolve and age, that sometimes I'm looking for something different.
You haven't aged at all. Like aging, what are you even talking about?
No, it can be a beautiful process that we can kind of grow with ourselves.
Absolutely.
And I'm always looking for that guidance on, okay, my skin is a little different. Maybe my lifestyle is a little different. You know, so how do you feel like you can help guide and sort of walk that path with your clients?
First of all, I love what you've said about trust, and the consistency. Consistency doesn't always connote boredom. People can think, oh, it's consistent, it's boring, but it's actually not. It's more of a reliability factor.
Love that.
And I've even had clients, again, the relationships, I think this episode's going to be called Relationship. People have said, you know, Marco, I can really count on you. And that, I think, is huge. Not just to be there, but to deliver. It's about delivering. Not the same, because we do change. And I love what you've brought up about aging, and I think it's great what you've said, because we can totally embrace the process of aging.
Exactly.
Jamie Lee Curtis recently was quoted as saying, she doesn't want to say anti-aging, she wanted to say pro-aging.
I love that. I've actually started adopting that.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah,
I think we should start here and now. This is it. We're pro-aging. Yeah, we're pro-aging. Totally.
I love that.
100%. And with that, it's about what's happening. And as I've gotten older, I am a big self-care fanatic. And so I try to solve problems with myself. And then I try to convey that to my clients. Again, I keep using the word concierge, but it's like, what can I impart on to my clients? And with hair, let's talk about hair. Hair changes.
Yeah.
Even within 3 to 5 years, even from age 41 to 46, and certainly between ages 45 to 50. And the hair can get a little grayer. And I've been with a lot of my clients for a long time. And even the celebrities clients get gray hair. And it's like, oh my God, my texture's changing.
Yeah.
What do I do? And we have to address the color specifically, because there are things that we can do to make the hair look shinier and richer and cover the gray. That's one option. But then during the pandemic, we also discovered different options to blend the gray. So it's really like, do you want to let some of that gray get exposed? Do we want to go a little lighter with the color? And this is all during a personal consultation is what's the goal with the color, because going lighter can be the answer for a lot of women.
Yeah.
And that helps blend the gray. And then also texture-wise, what product, what conditioner needs to be utilized because gray hair is often a completely different texture. It's often wirier, coarser, sometimes it's softer. So it may need an entirely different product regimen. And I do manufacture products, so it's interesting, some women that weren't using some of my products earlier on, as they get grayer, I might want to try your leave-in conditioner for a while because my hair texture has changed.
Sure.
I mean, I could talk to you about this all day, so you just need to let me know.
No, I actually would love to dive into the products, right? So I know that most of us are familiar with kind of the mass market products, which some of them are great and they have, some awesome formulas out there, but they are a little bit more one size fit all. And so, I think the advantage of having that trusted team and that, kind of advisor in your life with your hair is that they could probably come to you, right, and say, okay, I'm noticing this and also this weird other thing that I started noticing. What do you recommend? So how do you feel like your product line can help cater to every individual?
I really appreciate that perspective because it's almost like a prescription from a doctor, if you will.
Sure.
It's like, well, your hair's gotten drier, but your hair's also fine. So we need to add a shampoo if you color your hair that isn't going to weigh your hair down. So then there's I'd say 50% of women, let's say, either have fine hair or believe they have fine hair and feel they need more volume. So it's a matter of, I had to create a shampoo that would allow hair color to stay and last, but yet a lot of the complaints about, as you just said one moment ago, a lot of the one size fits all. If you go to the store, even a nice store, and buy a shampoo that's safe for color treated hair, if you have fine hair and you're a woman, you're going to go, oh my God, my hair is completely weighed down. It feels, there's no body. So I had to create a shampoo, and it actually happens to be a lovely coconut shampoo. So we try to infuse some aromatherapy in it as well. So it's really about figuring out different categories that people fall into. Again, not everyone's in the same category, but generally there's several categories. One category I mentioned is a woman with gray hair who has dry hair but also needs volume, and that woman's going to want a shampoo for color treated hair but also will add volume. Then there's other cultures. It's also a cultural thing as well, because if you have multicultural hair or ethnic hair, you may have really frizzy hair and you may need to be constantly not adding volume but actually devolumizing your hair. In which case my leave-in conditioner is a real gem because it adds moisture but allows the hair to form really nice curls and waves. So
still have the buoyancy.
Yes, exactly. And curly hair is really back now, and even waves, all of that.
Which I'm so glad about. I love seeing so many different textures.
Isn't that cool?
It's beautiful.
Yeah. It's funny because maybe 20 years ago, I think, or so, 15, 20 years ago, everybody was getting their hair completely blown straight.
Yep.
Do you remember that?
Oh,
the
yeah.
flat
The
iron,
Jennifer Aniston, maybe a bend at the end, and that was it.
which was right around when I started to do hair.
Oh, was it?
And it was
Okay.
it was just like so straight. It's a cool look. Some women still love that absolutely bone straight look. But really we're embracing, you talked about pro-aging, we're also embracing more with the curl and the wave these days, but it has to be a healthy curl and wave with integrity, a non-frizzy, because nobody wants to be super frizzy.
Sure.
Unless it's for some crazy photo shoot or something
Right.
that.
It is LA after all.
Yeah. So that's why I did a leave-in conditioner, is to help to protect the hair and also to give a nice curl pattern. So those are just like two examples of two categories of hair. One would be like flat, needs volume, but also wants to protect color. Another one might be multicultural with really curly hair. So it's just, for me, I've formulated the products to kind of cover all my bases. And then there also is a category out there of really severely damaged hair. And there is a lot of that out there, you guys. There really is. And a lot of you watching may even be saying, yeah, Marco, my blonde is completely, I love being blonde, but blonde takes bleach, which is kind of a nasty word, and bleaching and highlighting takes everything out of the hair. And we need to constantly work to put everything back into the hair. And it's not always moisture. It's sometimes protein.
Yeah.
But it
okay,
has to be
that
the
makes sense.
right size protein because the molecular weight and size, if it's wrong, a lot of women will also complain, I used that protein and it made my hair feel really hard and brittle. If it's the wrong size, it won't fit on the hair. So I use wheat protein and other vegetable proteins that actually fit on the hair, and I have a reconstructor that helps with that as well.
The science behind all of this must be fascinating, I would imagine. I mean, you said you worked with a chemist. Tell me a little bit about the relationship, again, going back to that, between being an artist and a scientist.
It's so cool. It's so cool.
bet.
It drives me a little crazy because it's kind of like also with the business side with the artistry, and it's also like the chemist side with the artistry.
Yeah.
You kind of have to delve in literally into right and left brain.
Oh, yeah.
And I do have a little bit of both, which probably makes me a little crazy. It's why I have trouble sleeping at night, because I'm always thinking
your
so
superpower.
much. Yeah. And I did have an opportunity to work with the chemists, and it was cool because I like that techie side where it's like, well, let's mix up this, let's mix up that, but then let's go try it, and then let's figure out how to communicate it to either a client or a stylist if I was training a hairstylist.
Because until you go into the real world and try it on different people's hair, I would assume, you really haven't arrived at any kind of destination until you're able to see that play out, right?
And it's so true what you just said, because a lot of marketing teams will do wonderfully in an office, but then you think, why did you didn't actually really do a test study and find out if they're actually going to use it or work with it. So that was my thing, was working with the chemists and figuring out what was needed, but then taking it and finding out, like one example is my leave-in conditioner. I wanted to do something to protect the hair before a blow dry, but then through research and development and just trial and error, women were leaving the salon without us blow drying their hair if they were in a rush or something.
Sure.
And then I got feedback that it worked great on the curls. So that's how I figured out about the curls. So that's kind of an example of that.
Yeah, wow, but it's such a process. You almost need to take it from the lab coat to the salon in order to actually see what those results are going to be.
It's so true. And the lab coat guys are amazing, and I love them, and I can talk their language, but they don't always know how to communicate it. And 80% of it is communication. So it's all about communicating back to whoever you're working with.
Yeah. So I would imagine that once somebody finds these products that are working really well for their hair, they're really happy with them. Let's just say they're really living their best texture life. Let's talk about how that translates into a pillowcase and your sleep routine, and how, I mean, I don't wash my hair every day, so I know once I put products in my hair, I don't want them to just be like absorbed out, right, by the materials that I'm sleeping on. What's your opinion on pillowcases and material in general?
Well, I think pillowcases are really important because I retail my products at different stores, and one of the stores carried also high-end pillowcases. This is several years back. So I'm so happy to be here to be talking about this, because if you think about it, when you wake up in the morning, your hair and your skin, you might have a crinkle here, and it's because of how you slept, and the hair can be so knotted and turn into that frizz ball that I described. Quality of that material has to be such that you won't get that wrinkle, because I do
you
think
don't get stuck.
Yeah, and I do think that affects even women that were wearing masks during the pandemic, as a kind of an example, still we're experiencing skin issues and all sorts of problems, and that's only from wearing a mask a few hours a day. Think about how you wake up in the morning after sleeping on a pillowcase all night.
You're right. 8 hours a day we're on this fabric. That's a really important point, I think.
And if you sleep in the same position, and that relates to the hair, because a lot of women will have a tangle in one spot. My leave-in works great on those tangles, but it would be nice if there were a pillowcase that would allow less chance of that happening, of the wrinkle or the tangle in the hair, so that you don't have to work through a tangle every morning.
Sure,
so the quality of the fabric, I think, is really important for both of those things. Hair and skin. I can speak to hair and skin.
Both, and I notice both. I notice that not only the tangles, but also, around the nape of my neck, and I know a lot of women have a different sort of texture. On the nape of my neck, it's a little, I guess, curlier, a little kinkier, whereas on the top of my head, it's quite smooth around the crown. And so I notice specifically, even if it's not a tangle, it's just a texture thing. It's that frizz. It's just that it kind of, I call it my Einstein hair, but it basically just Like it just goes out.
Yes. Yeah, we do have different textures, and some of it relates to what is exposed to the elements and the sun. Just wind.
Hadn't thought about that.
Yeah, just even all of this. And that's why going to get a hair color, this is the most important because this is what is seen. And it's great that you don't like your texture under here because you won't see it that
Right,
much.
yeah.
So there's some benefit in that. But
Right.
still, we do have to, sometimes women will just get chemical relaxers just for this area of their hair.
Yeah, that makes sense.
If it's a problem.
Sure. Yeah, just to kind of balance out that, the back of the hair
Yeah.
there. Yeah. So what's your experience been with silk pillowcases specifically? You mentioned having seen them in a salon a few years ago, which I think is really cool because even though silk pillowcases have been around for many, many, many years, before they became kind of mainstream trending again now. But now they are, I think, becoming a little bit more normalized, people understanding them more. But what's your opinion as an expert?
Oh, I think the silk is everything on the pillowcase. And it's specifically because of my experience with that. It was a boutique store that actually carried high-end products. And they carried my products, but they also carried a silk pillowcase. And I did chat with some of the people who experienced that. And they didn't have as much tangling and they didn't have as much wrinkling after waking up sleeping on the silk pillowcase.
Do you also find that silk pillowcases are better for retaining the product in the hair?
Yes. And that's why it's great. That's what I was saying in terms of like leaving a little conditioner in the hair. And it's kind of sad to say to someone, you can put a towel on your pillow because the towel is going to be porous and it's going to absorb a lot of the product. But sometimes that's a necessity if you don't want to deal with a pillowcase. But it would be nice to have a pillowcase that actually allowed the product to remain in the hair overnight.
Yeah, absolutely. What are some other sleep routine tips that you give your clients, to retain their best hair and skin?
Well, the one that I just mentioned is conditioner. I think that let's just literally walk through that. Okay, if you don't have time every day or every couple of days to do a deep conditioning treatment or once a week, if you're a mother, let's say you're a mother and you have kids and you don't want to spend, something I've done with my products is I've got a smaller amount of process time with the reconstructor. But something that I would recommend for a woman every night or every other night is to take a shower, take a bath, whatever it is, shampoo, squeeze the shampoo out, squeeze the moisture out after the shampoo, get out of the shower, get out of the tub. Again, squeeze as much moisture as you possibly can. It'd be great if you could use a reconstructor as well and then put a moisturizer on top. Not too terribly much because you're about to go into bed. So a smaller amount, and then comb through the hair after the moisturizer is in. If you don't have a good pillowcase, perhaps you might try one of those beautiful plastic caps.
Right, yes, so glamorous.
To kind of protect the hair. And then you can, it depends. If you've got a great pillowcase, then sleep on the pillowcase. But if you need to protect it, you may want to put a towel over your pillow. But generally, that's it. It's like shampoo, squeeze the moisture out after the shampoo so the hair's relatively towel dried. Apply a light amount of moisturizing conditioner or a deep mask. Comb through afterwards, because if you comb through the hair prior to conditioner, you can often risk breakage. For someone with any length of hair, breakage is not good. So some sort of moisturizer should be done prior to combing.
Okay, so you shampoo the hair, then get out, kind of squeeze it dry, add that moisturizing conditioner, and then what about in the morning?
In the morning, you would get out of bed and you would get into the shower, or however you want to rinse your hair. You need to rinse your hair. Now, if you have really severely dry hair, it's possible that you could allow a little bit of the conditioner to stay in the hair to sort of function as a leave-in conditioner. Or you can use a leave-in conditioner afterwards.
Yeah, I feel like that'd be a little more straightforward for me. Just rinse it out. Exactly. Yeah, and then that leave-in conditioner. And so your leave-in conditioner, do you prefer more of a spray bottle or is it more of a lotion application?
My leave-in is a lotion application. And I think the reason why it works is because it's very light. And you don't need very much of it. I really like that cream feel rather than a spray.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. It's a moisturizer. When I think about a lotion, I wouldn't spray my skin, right? I would put a lotion on my skin.
Yes, and it actually, is similar to skin cream. It's the technology behind my products are similar to high-end skincare. Most of the ingredients in my leave-in conditioner are similar to high-end skincare, which is probably why I resonate with the pillowcase and the whole skincare thing. And that kind of goes into my science geeky side that I love all of that ingredient stuff.
Sure. Well, it makes sense. You know, our skin and our hair, they all come from one body, right? So they're very interconnected.
Absolutely. It's the same. They're both made from keratin protein. They're both keratin proteins. So hair, skin, and nails, it's all protein. That's why when you bleach your hair, for example, you're taking all that protein out. You've got to put it back in. That's why bleached hair can sometimes look so bad.
Yeah.
Because the protein
so depleted.
The hair itself, literally a chunk of whatever makes the hair is gone.
Sure. Which makes sense why we hear the word lifeless, maybe, that protein is the life of the hair.
Yes. Oh, that's well said.
Yeah. Now, you'd mentioned keratin. I also know that you are a believer in collagen. And collagen is one of those things, too, that we've seen a lot more on the market lately. To me, it can feel almost overwhelming. There's so many options. Do I take it orally? Is this something that should be in my conditioner? Talk to me about your take on collagen and the most effective way to get it to your hair.
Sure. Beautiful. Collagen is everything. It's protein. Guess what? We just talked about protein. So collagen protein is actually a really nice sized protein to get into the hair, because that is a protein that will actually fit into the hair. And what I mean by that is it won't just sit outside the hair and make it feel hard. It'll actually penetrate into the hair and replenish. It's cosmetic. So whenever you're doing anything on top of the hair, shampoo, conditioner, whatever, it's never going to be permanent. So we have to, and what I mean by that, it's not bad news. What I mean by that is that it has to be done relatively frequently in order to continuously sort of introduce the collagen into the hair. And what the collagen does is basically you have a road that has potholes in it and you're filling it in with tar or whatever it is. You're not putting tar in your hair. The tar goes on the road, but you're smoothing those holes out with collagen.
Oh, I love that visual. That's so helpful that you're helping to fill those potholes and then just that smooth effect that you get afterwards. I love that.
And also, I do believe personally that collagen, I have friends in the health field. I'm not an acupuncturist, but I have an herbalist acupuncturist friend who believes that taking collagen internally is good as well. So I guess you could take it internally and do it on your hair.
Sure.
And hopefully it'll build you from both sides.
Which makes sense to me, I think, because, you know, as a hair follicle has already grown out of my scalp, then, you know, that's the only way I can really access it. It's no longer in the follicle being developed. It's out here. So it makes sense that you'd fill those potholes. But then that internal collagen, I would imagine, is more to help the new hair growth come out stronger.
I couldn't have said it better myself, literally, because this can get stronger and grow faster probably from taking collagen, and this hair on the end is dead. It's not even. It's not a living, breathing.
It is what it is. Yeah. At this point,
so you have to put back the collagen, put back the protein. It's funny that you would mention collagen now, because we've talked about protein. Hair is protein. Even just wind, just having wind. Sometimes the wind will take some of the protein out of your hair. I mean, the elements get to the hair. Sun.
Yeah. What are some of the others to look out for? I know maybe
blow
even just
drying, heat styling, heat styling. I mean, especially because women, you know, your hair is beautifully styled, but I'm sure there was some heat styling involved.
There was multiple stages of heat.
I mean, you know, in order to look so great, you've got to have a little heat, and it's typically a blow dryer with a round brush. And think about that blow dryer and the round brush going together through the hair and what it's doing. And it's just sort of sucking more of the protein out of the hair, creating those little holes. And then also ironing. Whether it's, if you think about a flat iron or a curling iron, it's clamping down completely and adding heat to the hair.
Yeah.
So we need something in there that helps to protect from that heat styling.
Do you recommend always using a product prior to using heat?
Yes, I absolutely do. As a matter of fact, my leave-in conditioner is perfect prior to a blow dry to help protect it.
Oh,
and
that's
then
awesome.
If you have really challenging hair and really dry hair, maybe even a serum. I have a shine serum as well. Yeah.
And do you find that those not only help protect it from the heat, but also retain the style longer?
Yes. Yes,
Awesome.
Because if you're using a product that will help fortify the hair, especially if you're pairing it with another styling product, it'll make whatever styling product you're using work better, and it'll make whatever heating implement you're using work better too. So you'll get a better result.
Yeah.
Hopefully it'll last longer.
Yeah.
Especially if you have hair that's difficult to style. It's possible that if you have a product with some collagen in it, it might actually help the style last longer.
Yeah, like you were saying, if you have very, very fine hair or very, very dry hair, that I would imagine just kind of taming it first and then working with it, that helps so much.
Almost like as a preparatory kind of a palette thing, like a painter's going to use.
Yeah, your primer.
Your primer. Yeah, it's like got to have a leave-in conditioner, got to have a primer.
If you had to pick one of your products for someone to start with, what would it be?
I would say my health shampoo because it's it's the closest to a one size fits all because it's somewhat moisturizing, which is nice. Most people need a little of that.
Yeah.
But it also has a little bit of rosemary in it, and it really stimulates the scalp. So it's good for scalp circulation, can promote that as well as potentially add a little bit of fullness.
Wow.
So it's called Marco Color Health Shampoo.
Health shampoo. I love that. Now, this leads actually into the next question that I wanted to ask. I know beauty and hair can be so personal, so individual, but I also know that I love to share with my friends, with my family members. If I found something that's working really well for me, I'm like, oh, you have to try this out. We have the holidays coming up. What's your feeling around gifting beauty products to friends and family?
Oh, my favorite. I think stocking stuffers are great, in terms of even like small little sizes, because you're not necessarily sure sometimes on what that person's take is going to be, if it's going to work. So I recommend finding, if you can, small sizes and just buy a ton of them. My sister just bought a whole lot of my products in the small size, and she's going to give them out over the holidays. So I just think holiday gifts are terrific. I think smaller sizes, even for women, like purse-sized sprays, I do offer a small size spray. That kind of idea I think works really well for gifting. It's like, and then you can stick it in your purse when you're on a long drive and you have to freshen up when you get to the set.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Do you also sell sizes that are okay on airplanes?
Yes. TSA approved.
Yay. We all need those. I was just out of the country last week, and I noticed that some of my favorite products are not in the right size container, but I was only wanting to take a carry-on, and it was a bit of a struggle. I was there for a whole week, and I was in Mexico City. The air was different. The water's different. The shower is different. And I really noticed such changes in my hair and skin even in those few days. And it just reminded me, I'm like, just whether you have a big bottle and put it into a small bottle or have those travel size ready to go, they make such a difference.
I mean, you don't want to be caught at the airport and have them take. That's happened to some of my clients where my products, the large size, have been taken from them.
No, and you're like, that would have been worth it to check it, but then you don't have time.
Yes.
Oh, I've been there.
And then the other thing that you're mentioning too, I don't know where we want to go with this, but is how your hair, skin, and nails can change even within the course of 24 hours, even in the same climate if the weather changes.
Oh,
That's a whole topic that we could delve into in terms of how much humidity is in the air and how our hair changes, because the hair doesn't have much of a self-esteem on its own. It kind of changes to go with whatever climate it's currently in.
Sure.
So if it's different in Mexico City, even within an hour, if you're there, if it's going to be much more humid, your hair is going to be completely different than it was when you were in LA. And you might have a whole different regime that's needed.
You mentioned gifting. I also just wanted to shout out that, we do know that the holidays are coming up. If you yourself have experienced the magic that is a Blissy silk pillowcase, you know that we don't want to be gatekeepers here. We want to share the love with our friends and family. These make for great stocking stuffers, great little gifts. I also just attended a fun holiday party with my friends called our Favorite Things Party, and this is an absolute hit for these types of gifts. Everyone can benefit from a silk pillowcase, whether it's a man, a woman, older, younger. This is absolutely such a great universal gift. There are so many different colors, so many different looks to fit all types of different personalities and people in your life. So definitely consider getting one for yourself and for someone that you love. Now, coming back to hair, let's talk about just what is your opinion on how hair, how beauty can really help develop someone's confidence. We hear the word confidence a lot in the beauty industry. I think sometimes it feels very sincere, sometimes it can feel insincere. To you, what is the link between hair and true sincere confidence?
I think I read once that the best beauty has to do with comfort. So if you're wearing an outfit that's too tight, you're not comfortable, you're not going to feel beautiful.
I love that.
If you're wearing your hair and it doesn't feel quite right, you're not going to feel confident, you're not going to feel beautiful. The hair, even as I'm looking at you right now, the hair is really essentially the first thing that we see, or whatever's on someone's head.
It's a frame.
Is the frame.
Yeah.
So our hair is that important. That's why during COVID, during the shutdowns, our industry, it really affected a lot of women because they weren't able to color their hair. And when the gray started coming in, it was a nightmare. And there are some people that can wear gray hair, but for the most part, a huge percentage of women color their hair.
Well, and I think it also matters if you have created, a hairstyle that really is centered around having a really beautiful gray or silver or white look.
Yes.
But I would imagine it feels very, very different if you have just grow out. You have 1 inch of gray and everything else is brown. Of course, that's probably not what we're going for.
Absolutely. Yeah. If you have unintentional roots.
Right. The intention.
And oftentimes gray roots can even look like there's no hair on the head, because if you think about it, you have white hair coming in and then this dark end. But just to go back to your point, I just feel like when I can give someone a style that is comfortable for them, that if there's a way to infuse a little bit of the current trend, that's great. It's not always going to be perfect because sometimes trends don't really work well on everyone.
Yeah.
But if there's a way to infuse a little bit of the trend and yet still give someone a hairstyle that works for them, a lot of it has to do with being able to face frame. It has to look, there's face shapes. So I think when you have an oval shaped face, you're lucky because that's the ideal shape face. But for example, if you have a really round face and you're wearing a bob and it's really exaggerating that, you're going to feel really round and you're not going to feel confident. Whereas if you have a really round face, for example, and we give you a haircut and we do some pieces down here and it softens some of the roundness, you're going to automatically look in the mirror and feel like, oh, I feel so much better about myself. I feel so much more comfortable. I'm able to go and meet people and not think about it. I think that's the biggest thing, is if you can forget. Like, I haven't been sitting here with you guys thinking about my hair this whole time.
Right.
Because I'm like, my hair looks pretty good today.
Sure. You can just forget about it and be yourself.
And be yourself. And I think that's the thing, is being comfortable. And it doesn't necessarily have to be lived in, because sometimes lived in can mean kind of maybe messy, but there is a lived in quality to it as well. It does have to it has to kind of
an effortlessness, maybe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Almost like if you can achieve effortlessly striking, that would be terrific. Like you like you want to look like you don't really care, but it took a little effort, but it's comfortable.
Yeah.
I think comfort.
I absolutely love that word. And I'm going to remember that when I think confidence, think comfort.
Yeah.
That you can really feel comfortable in your own skin, comfortable in your own hair, comfortable in the room.
Even what I'm wearing today. I didn't.
Which I love, by the way.
Thanks.
I want to get into this.
Yeah, I like suits. Sometimes I'll wear a suit, but I knew I'd be sitting with you, and I didn't know. So I just you want to wear something comfortable.
Yeah, that represents who you are.
Yeah.
I love that so much. And it reminds me of the phrase self-conscious. I've thought a lot about this phrase personally. I'm somebody who has struggled a little bit with social anxiety, through my life. I was quite shy as a child.
Understand.
And a lot of us, I think a lot of people struggle with this, and we don't talk about it nearly enough, I think. But I remember realizing one day along my long journey that the concept of self-consciousness, right? If you break it down, it's consciousness around self, meaning thinking and oftentimes overthinking about ourselves. So I absolutely resonate with what you were just talking about with, if you can just find a style, find products, find a color and a cut that just lets you kind of look in the mirror, hey, I look awesome, and then leave that and enter into being able to focus on the people you're with, the topics you're discussing, the project you're working on. I mean, how beautiful is that?
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that being self-conscious, if we're self-conscious about a particular aspect, you're going to be thinking about it and fixing on it the whole time.
And it doesn't allow you to focus on what's around you,
and be in the moment. It takes you out of the moment.
Exactly. Exactly. I love that so much. Your philosophy is so fascinating to me. I also wanted to ask about your outfit, actually. I'm noticing some natural elements, very earthy. Can you tell me a little bit about, your outfit and how that translates into just your approach to life?
Sure, absolutely. I love what I do because in my business with hair, you don't really have to dress in a suit every day. Although I do sometimes like wearing a suit.
Sure.
But I love jeans. I think every guy, every gal should have a nice fitting pair of jeans, whether it's tight, whatever it is, comfortable.
Yep.
Comfortable.
Yep. These
are comfortable. And so I love jeans. And jeans can be upscale. Jeans can be quite upscale. And I also like black. It works well on my skin tone. That's another biggie that we haven't talked about, but choosing a color and also choosing hair color and colors that you wear that work well with your skin tone and possibly your makeup. But definitely I like black. And then it's fun to always put like some kind of a leather jacket on. So that's kind of what I typically will do, is like some kind of a leather jacket with a black shirt with some jeans. And then this happens to be a piece of my mom's jewelry. Which
Really?
I do like some cool stones.
Oh, yeah, it's beautiful. What kind of stone is that?
I don't even know what it is.
It's beautiful. If you're listening on audio, it's really just a beautiful blue.
Maybe an agate?
Agate.
I'm guessing. I don't know.
We want to see in the comments who's going to correct us on this. Is it a blue agate? That's our guess.
Yeah, I'd like to see what you have to say. Please comment. Yeah, I'm curious. Yeah.
Speaking of the blue, such a beautiful color, and choosing those colors that work so well with your skin tone, I can tell that you have such a handle on that, from looking your outfit, the tones that your jacket brings out in your hair, your eyes. Being a color specialist, having done this for so long, you obviously have celebrity clients, people who've come to you for decades. Tell us some of your tips and maybe some of your secrets on choosing the best color for you.
It's so important because makeup also can fool you. There used to be a salon that would ask women, I think this is a little impossible, to come to the salon with no makeup, and they would put them under this white light to see the true skin. I think that's a little extreme, but it gives you an idea in terms of, the reason why I bring that up is because it gives you an idea of how you might look with or without makeup.
Oh, yeah.
To all the women out there.
It's very different.
And if you are always going to be committed to a particular type of makeup, and that's what you're going to wear, then wear that to the salon, because then the hairdresser can then hopefully cater the hair color to match that makeup.
This makes sense because I am guilty of never wearing makeup to the hair salon.
Understand.
And I mean, I hope that I wear a makeup palette that suits my skin.
Natural.
But you're right that it kind of probably leans one way. And if I'm not wearing that to the salon, how are they supposed to base it on that?
Right. And you can take a look, and even from eyes. So even if you don't wear makeup, or if you are wearing makeup, the colorist should be good enough. Or even like if I look at your eyes, for example, you have a lot of warmth in your eyes. Your eyes, would you say they're hazel or brown or?
My fiance calls them honey brown because they are that kind of brighter brown.
A warm brown. So see, a good colorist, a good hairdresser, but even you as a woman can know, well, I have warmth in my eyes, so I'm going to have some warmth you've got some warmth in your hair and in your skin. So you go to a woman who has crystal blue eyes, she's not going to look good with warm colors.
Right.
So it really goes back to a really old book called Color Me Beautiful, which was even before my time.
Wow.
Which I've read, and it's got really dated looking styles in it, but the color seasons are the same, like summer, winter, fall, and spring. And autumn, fall season, which we're in now, is a typical, like if you think of an Irish woman with like a redhead, like with warmth, like that, she can wear rust colors, she can wear red in her hair, golds. That gives you an idea of how to think about your own personal coloring. I'm more of a winter, because if you look at my eyes, they're really dark. There's not a lot of warmth.
Dark brown.
I don't really look good, but a little bit of warmth, is good. But even this is kind of a cool brown.
Yeah.
So you're either starting with cool or warm. I will give a tip to your audience. You can just take a silver sheet or whatever, plastic, fabric, whatever it is, up to your skin, and then a gold one, and see which one you like better. You'll generally know whether you're warm or cool. That'll give you a start.
That makes sense. And I'm so glad that you're calling this out, because and the timelessness of it, right? That Color Me Beautiful book, that it's been around for so long. It doesn't matter that the images are dated. Color is color is color. That's not going to change depending on the year or the trend or what the Kardashians are doing. And what I noticed over the last several years, it's sort of neutralized now, but was the ashy trend. I mean, it was like color is bad and everything was brassy, right? Of course, I know that there is a difference between warmth and brass, but I feel like it all kind of got bundled together for a while. And I've always preferred warmth in my hair. And I felt almost a little self-conscious going to a salon asking for warmth. And to some degree, and maybe this was on my mind, but I felt a little bit like they were like, don't you know that like ashy is the cool thing? And I know that it doesn't look good on me.
Nope.
No.
You're warm.
Yeah.
You're a warm season.
Yeah. And to be able to, again, going back to that confidence and that comfort, if you know that you look great in gold, if you know that you look great in those warmer tones, don't let a trend try to make you doubt yourself, or believe that you need to do whatever is like trending that year to look and feel beautiful.
Yeah, because sometimes if you were to switch your hair color to something that's trendy or whatever it is, you might look strange on your own, or you might look strange with the same makeup. You might have, if you become a redhead, you do have to consider that you may have to change some of your clothing and some of your makeup in order to feel. So that's a perfect example. Women that have red hair, typically the skin tone can change based on the makeup. So you do have to change your regime if you change your color. And
your clothes, too, to your point. Yeah. That it all really works together, this kind of color palette.
And it is superficial because you said it too, because it is, but it isn't. Because then you're going to feel a certain way if you're wearing this hair color and other women are noticing, oh, that doesn't really match with.
Yeah.
It's going to make you, harkening back to the self-conscious thing, you're not going to feel as good.
Yeah.
So you can think it's all you could think this whole conversation is totally superficial. All we're talking about is hair color and makeup and all, but actually it really is going to reflect on how you feel.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love the philosophy that usually I associate it with fashion, but I think with hair makeup as well, that instead of thinking I'm going to dress to impress, I will dress to express. To express who I am, to express how I feel about myself, to express who I am in the world. So I think that this just wraps beautifully into that.
Well said.
If you had one takeaway that you wanted to leave our audience with today, what would it be?
I'm going to go with comfort. I'm really feeling it. I feel like when you go to the hairdresser, look for a style, especially with a hairstyle, look for a hairstyle that you're going to be comfortable with and that you're going to be able to do and replicate at home. I think that's probably the biggest issue, leaving a client in the chair. So all of you out there listening, when you go the next hair appointment you go to, and that also includes products to support that you're using at home as well.
Yeah.
So good products, and also being able to know how to use the products as well. So that whole thing, it's like the at-home thing. Be careful with that. Make sure it's a comfortable style, and make sure you have stuff that you can do at home.
Sounds like you need to be comfortable in the salon and comfortable once you go home.
Yes, because that's probably the number one thing is, wow, Marco, that looks great, but how am I ever going to do this?
Yeah.
So that's probably the biggest at home.
I love that.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like this has been such an empowering discussion for myself, certainly, and for our listeners to just...
Thank you.
Really, to lean into that comfort, to lean into our own confidence, and to be able to express ourselves even through our hair. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, this has been so wonderful. Again, this is Marco Pelusi. If you're interested in learning more about his products, tell us where we can find you online.
Absolutely. My website is marcopelusi.com, and you can also visit me at my salon on Robertson in West Hollywood anytime.
I will be over there. We're only a few blocks away, so I'll take you up on that.
You're coming. We're going to do a coffee.
I would love that.
Yes.
Thank you again for sharing your time, your wisdom, your beauty and essence with us.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for joining us here on the Blissy Experience. We absolutely adore for our community. We are building such a beautiful community here. We're still early on in the podcast, and you are one of the original pioneers here with us. So we thank you so much. We are so grateful for you. If you haven't had a chance to experience a Blissy silk pillowcase yourself, be sure to check it out. You will never look back. It is tried and true for a reason. So thank you again for joining us on this discussion. I'm Ariana, your host, and this has been the Blissy Experience. We'll see you next time.